Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with my next Boruto Anime review. This one is going to be for episode 226, which is called Samurai vs. Science, I think. And yeah, this was an okay episode. It was one of those ones where I actually enjoyed the Denki Tsubaki fight, even though it was a little bit basic and I didn't really feel like there was a lot of attacks necessarily happening during it, and it maybe felt like the characters were a little underpowered in it. But the core of the fight, big moments for I suppose both characters, they created a little bit of a motivation for both of them, was good. The major criticism I have though is the way that they handled the Boruto Mitsuki disqualification, pretty much start to finish with everything surrounding it. It felt very just dismissive of it because they never even allowed Boruto or Mitsuki to explain it. So we end this arc, I guess, without anyone actually knowing what Boruto or Mitsuki did, without any acknowledgement from anyone high up in the village that Amado was taken. Were they the only ones who saw that Amado was taken? Is he not a kind of high security kind of person in the village at this point? That was the most baffling part of this arc, and it made it really feel like, oh, this arc doesn't matter, because you basically, in doing that, told me that this arc does not matter at all, because you're not even allowing the characters to explain why they missed this. It's just, this was a thing to allow them to miss it, and it actually doesn't matter. And so it's such a weird dynamic where, to a degree, you would say that if they had argued their point of this is what we were doing, they probably have done enough to earn the rank of Chunin just from their actions. But they get disqualified just because they happen to be pulled out first, and they miss the call for their match by a few minutes. It's just a bit frustrating. You knew it was going to happen, but it's still frustrating that they did it with no real, I think, reason in mind. I get that the overall approach across this arc was to spread the position of Chunin across the different teams. But I think there is a gulf in class between, I would definitely say, Team 7 and Inoshika Cho compared to all the other teams. Where the other teams, sure, one Chunin per team is fine, but the other two, Team 7 and Inoshika Cho, probably are worth to have all those characters be Chunin. I don't see what it really takes away. Especially Team 7, where it's so blatantly obvious that, one, they're the main characters and they're clearly the most powerful. Why can't you give them the rank of Chunin? I was not at all happy that the resolution to this was that, well, Boruto's still happy despite the the disqualification. So the fact that he's still cheering on Sarada, that's proof of his growth. And I'm is it? Because you sort of set it up at the start of the arc that this was meant to be Boruto's sort of redemption for what happened in the previous arc, and that really went away the second you set them off on investigating this thing with Amado. But we'll get back to that. Let's actually talk about the fight that actually happened, and that was Tsubaki versus Denki, which was actually the 5th match. So, at least in terms of the disqualification, they did it correctly, where it was Boruto Mitsuki pulled out first, they weren't there, they get disqualified, and so the 5th match, Denki Tsubaki, has to come up next. And yeah, the main thing, we'd been set up sort of all arc, this is Denki sort of proving himself, showing that scientific ninja tools can be of value in battle, versus Tsubaki, who is going to, win this match, become a Chunin, return to the land of iron, and gain a leadership position because she was so impressive in the Leaf Village. We do get a little bit of a dynamic where she overhears her teammates basically talking about, how upset they are she's going to leave, but that they have to support her. So she gets to see that they support her decision, but are going to be sad that she leaves, and she sort of realizes that she had not really almost considered the effect her leaving would have on the team, and that is a slight thing in her head going into her fight. So there was sort of going in at least some dynamic behind why each character should win, but again, the way they doled out the victories and who is a Chunin and who is not before this made it really obvious that they're not going to give the Chunin rank to two members of Wasabi's team and have no members of the Wabe team have the rank of Chunin. So Denki was going to have to win this regardless of basically what happened, and that took a little bit away from the fight, but it was still, I think, solid. So we finally get the reveal of what his scientific ninja tool is, which is basically a sort of like a kind of exoskeleton type suit. It's not a full suit of armor in that outside of, I think, the gauntlets on his arms, it's not really sort of protection as such for him. But it's basically just a system that generates electricity, and it amplifies his reaction time and is sort of a powered suit to assist him. It also has in the kind of headband bit a motion tracking camera that allows him to sort of predict people's movements. And it also generates, again, because it generates electricity, it allows him to use sort of powerful lightning jutsu, and it's a strength amplifier. So the start of this is basically, you find out later, Tsubaki taking it easy on Denki, thinking that he's not much of a threat, and that even though he's using scientific ninja tools, she can easily get through them. But Denki, of course, dodges all of her sword attacks at the start. Then he counterattacks, and she realizes she's actually in danger here. I like the moment where he comes in with his big attack that's surprisingly quick, and she's about to block it with her sword, but then realizes that, like, no, whoa, there's a lot of power here, and backs out of it completely, and realizes that afterwards, that would have shattered my sword if I had actually blocked that kind of full on. So that was kind of nice. I think the overall, I suppose, problem with the fight was that I think we know that Tsubaki probably has a bit more power than she displayed in this match. All she really got to do in terms of like abilities was just quick swordplay. She cut through a fire attack that Denki threw at her, and that was really it. Like, we know she definitely has much more going on than that. The highlight of the fight was definitely the sequence, like right in the middle, where you could tell they put a lot of animation budget into it, and they had so many kind of moving parts. There was a cool sequence where Denki's just sort of sliding along the floor doing a kind of combo attack that was very fluid and nice. Then Tsubaki getting the advantage over Denki, countering the motion sensor basically by distracting him, using her sword scabbard basically to distract him as well. That was very cool because it was kind of dynamic combat. It wasn't just standard taijutsu. It was actually like cleverly done, the spinning thing to distract him, coming in with the sword, forcing him to block in specific ways. That was a very nice section of the fight. What it came down to is that she's able to use that sequence to destroy the motion sensor, and then it becomes clear that Denki can't really keep up with her speed and is likely to lose this match unless something changes. So what happens here is he just kind of randomly throws out the sort of like extendo arms, kind of grappling kind of hand things, and right as she's about to sort of finish the fight, he sort of sheds the exoskin and backs out really far back. And you can see he immediately activates a jutsu on his own. And this is why this fight was actually quite good, in that they gave Denki this very strong character moment at the end of the fight in showing the guy who struggles with jutsu. We know he can do some, but for the most part doesn't tend to use jutsus all that much. Showing him actually using the jutsu he was having the exosuit use, so the lightning style overdrive, and then into a, I can't even remember what the word was, I'd never heard it before, lightning style X is something, but either way it was sort of a basic Chidori like thing. It didn't have the speed or accuracy or like penetrating power of the Chidori, but he attacked her sword directly and effectively just electrocuted her to knock her out, winning the match. But it was a cool moment to show the sort of speed enhancement of lightning style, and then an attack that KOs his opponent, that he could do that even without the exosuit. So you in this fight you allowed him to sort of prove 2 points. One is that he can make these very interesting scientific ninja tools that augment combat and allow him to be way better than he should be. But he also has these sort of that Naruto style determination where he is actually practicing his own jutsu as well in the background, and he can use that to finish off opponents as well. So actually a very strong showing for Denki, and it kind of showed that like Tsubaki was a little kind of cocky coming into the fight, expecting Denki to be a bit of a pushover, but she loses. She changes her mind about going to the Land of Iron, and is like, I'll become a Chunin in the next Chunin exams, and she's going to be there with the team from here on out. So, nice little moment there. Denki gets a big sort of ovation here as the exams come to an end. And yeah, we have 4 Chunin in the Leaf Village now. So, 4 new ones anyway. So, what is it? We have Hoki, Wasabi, Sarada, and Denki become Chunin. Yes, Mitsuki and Boruto does get cancelled. They don't redo it afterwards, but I think probably one of the most frustrating parts of the episode was the little thing at the end. I can admire it from a slight point of view in that it was kind of like, oh, cool, they are actually going to have their match at nighttime, sort of sparring with each other, because when they arrived at the arena, found out they were disqualified, but found out that they were actually going to face each other, Boruto and Mitsuki, they were actually excited about it. And so the idea that they later do this sort of just on their own with no one watching, just to sort of test themselves against each other, is kind of cool. But I don't like that they don't show any of it at all. I get why they maybe sort of did it, because this would have to be a big fight. You have to consider this as 2 team members to be a kind of major fight, and they probably just didn't want to show it. But it was also too much of a tease. After the whole basically storyline of Boruto in this exam was a massive like tease that he might become a Chunin, it feels pretty bad to just go ahead with this big matchup, like the biggest matchup you had on the card, to tease that it's actually going to happen after being told it won't happen, and then you don't show any of it. And let's just end with just some discussion of the other side of the episode. Like I was saying earlier, I hate that this episode never once had like Boruto explain to Naruto or Shikamaru or anyone what they were actually doing, and that they saved Amado, that they found out that Amado is actually loyal to the village because of how he acted with these people who had like abducted him, and stuff like that. I don't like how it's basically just treated as these idiots were late for the exam for effectively no reason. I hope at the start of the next episode they maybe go into it and explain like what exactly happened, or it's acknowledged in some way, because now it's in this weird situation where like, is it meant to be a secret between basically Amado, Boruto, and Mitsuki that Amado was even captured in the first place and no one else is meant to know? Or does everyone know, but because Boruto and Mitsuki haven't made a big deal about it, no one's actually like acknowledging it? I don't know. Maybe it's a setup for like Amado owes them a favor or something like that, and he'll help them out at some point. Who knows? But I think that could have been used. Like I said, I think that the fact that they accomplished that mission on their own and pretty effectively, to the point where they were only like 2-3 minutes late for their match, kind of highlights, you know, they dealt with it very effectively and efficiently, without like really hurting or killing anyone. Amado came out of it fine. They came out of it fine. That seems like an effective, you know, mission that they did on their own without a official leader character. They both decided on their own, highlighting their own individual kind of qualities. That to me seems kind of tuning worthy, because I don't think you can counter what they did with like, oh, but they were out of line. They were stepping beyond their current position to do this, and they were being idiots. When at no point during the whole Amado incident were they in any way in danger or in over their heads, to the point where anything bad was actually going to happen to them. They were in full control the entire time, and I'm just frustrated by the fact that they came up with, I think, the worst explanation surrounding why Boruto and Mitsuki aren't tuning. And I don't know why. I get you want to highlight Sarada, but you already highlighted Sarada as the leader before she even gained this rank during the Boro fight. Even if they're all in the same rank as each other, we already know that when they are the same rank, everyone on the team still considers Sarada to be the leader. So doubling down on just like she actually is the only one officially with the rank wasn't something you needed to do. And again, you don't need to have Boruto follow the path of his father, where, like Naruto, misses out on all these promotions here and there until the very end. Boruto also does. You don't need to do that at all, because the whole point of it is that they are kind of different. So, I don't know. Are they teasing that we're actually going to get another tuning exam at some point? I'm guessing just because there's enough, like, there's not a ton of content to cover in the manga left, that we're going to be doing stuff for a while. It's going to take a while to get back to tuning exams, though. I don't know. But the Tsubaki tease of that, I suppose, just is she's going to be around for a while until the next tuning exam happens at the very least. The tease for next episode is that the Team 7 are going to be allowed to go on a mission on their own now because they have a tuning on their team, and they're going to be sent as backup for Konohamaru, who's doing a mission on his own. Now, immediately, here's another thing that they seem to do when they have their own sort of anime original episodes, and that is sort of dunk on Konohamaru. And I hope this isn't the case, but the preview shows him seemingly getting captured on whatever mission that he was on his own, and Team 7's going to have to bail him out. I hope Konohamaru gets a little bit of a chance to shine in this sort of little mini arc that we're doing here. But it's basically, I think, more meant to be a test of Team 7 post-tuning exams. And that could be fun. But yeah, we're into, I suppose, just going from sort of, anime-only arc to anime-only arc. And hopefully we get some good stuff out of this. But other than that, that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.